Ladies and gentlemen,
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. Even today, there is little value in opposing the threat of a closed society by imitating its arbitrary restrictions. Even today, there is little value in ensuring the survival of our nation if our traditions do not survive with it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment.
Hello again, and thank you for joining me. This will be a different kind of podcast, and this actually has a video with it. Now, I will be uploading this to Podomatic, so if you're listening from Podomatic and you just have an audio track, go to my Facebook page. It's facebook.com/freethesheeple. And you'll get the video link to this, because you really need to see the video to understand some of the things I'm talking about. So if you're listening just audio, please watch the video whenever you have time. You can listen to the audio, but you're not going to get everything I'm talking about. So with that said, let us proceed. This is the Mandela Effect. Several of you have asked about this, and I've been working on it for quite a while. And the more I look into this, the more I'm convinced that I'm losing my mind, because I don't understand any of this that's happening. But it is happening. I know it's happening. So, I'll give you a brief overview of what the Mandela Effect is. I'll give you some examples that I found, and I'll give you my opinion on why I think it's happening. Because it is happening, and don't let anyone tell you any different. Now, there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of examples out there, and I can't go through them all. I just don't have time to list them all. But I've got a few major ones here that you may or may not have heard of. And do your own research, and you'll find more. But basically, the Mandela Effect comes from this. There are people, a lot of people, apparently hundreds of thousands of people, who have a very distinct and vivid memory of Nelson Mandela dying in prison in the mid-'80s. Now, Nelson Mandela did not die in prison in the mid-'80s. He died in 2013 after he'd already been released. But there are lots and lots of people that have this memory. It's named the Mandela Effect by a paranormal researcher named Fiona Broome, who first discovered these discrepancies. And that's how it got its name. But it has much more to do than Nelson Mandela. There are several, like I said, examples of things in our past changing. And people remembering it one way and it not quite being that way. Not everyone, only some of us. Now, the most commonly accepted reason for this is that we have crossed into a parallel universe where these small changes have been made, and we're now noticing them and wondering what's going on. All the major theoretical physicists, Michio Kaku, Einstein, Stephen Hawking, all understand that there are innumerable parallel universes. There's a universe where everything is the same except I wore a different shirt today. And then there's a parallel universe where Germany won World War II. So from the smallest changes to the largest changes, there's a parallel universe that coincides with every decision every person on the planet has ever made. A lot to grasp, I know. So, that's why the Mandela Effect is called the Mandela Effect. Now, some changes. Some examples, if you will. Probably the most researched one is the Berenstain Bears. Now, when I was a kid, I had a book called The Berenstain Bears. It was spelled Berenstein, S-T-E-I-N. And I remember this because my dad used to read it to me, and that's how he pronounced it. Now, my dad's got a college degree. He's an educated man. He can read. Okay, he's not going to make a mistake like that. But apparently, in this timeline, it's always been called Berenstain, spelled S-T-A-I-N. Now, if I could find my book, which I've been looking for, but I can't, I know it was spelled the other way, E-I-N. And there is some residual evidence for this. And I'll get to that later. But that's one of the differences. Another difference is Curious George. I remember Curious George, reading Curious George books as a kid, because Curious George is a monkey. I remember him having a long curly tail. Apparently Curious George has never been drawn with a long curly tail, or any tail at all. Which is odd, because I can't think of a monkey without a tail. I mean, there are monkeys without tails, but come on. But apparently he's never had one. Okay? Whatever, I guess. And the more I look into this, the more I know these things can't be right. And it's not subjective memory. It would be different if it was just me, or just you, or just, 15, 20 people. But we're talking hundreds of thousands of people who aren't connected in any way, sharing the exact same memory with the exact same details. So something is going on. Now, there are some changes in the animal kingdom. I'm a nerd, all right? I like nature documentaries. I like animal shows. I watch them every chance I get. And there are some animals that I have absolutely never, ever seen. Now, I'm going to be the voice of reason here and say that there's no one person that can know all the animals on the planet. All right, I get that. But some of these, there's just no way, I don't think that I would not have noticed them before. And they seem to have just appeared. Even though when I researched them, it says, most of these animals were discovered, at least 100 years ago. I've never seen them. I've never heard of them. Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. But let's get down to it. The picture you're seeing right now is a bird. Apparently it can be found in just about any zoo. It's called a shoebill. I've never seen a bird. That's an ugly bird. It looks more like a dinosaur than a bird. I've never seen anything like that, but apparently they're very common. New one on me. I've seen an ostrich, I've seen a crane, I've never seen a shoebill. Okay. Whatever. Another good example. What you're seeing now is a saber-toothed deer. That's right, a saber-toothed deer. It's called a Chinese water deer. Now, at first I thought, well, maybe they grew saber teeth instead of antlers. No, here's a buck. It has antlers and saber teeth. Now, deer eat plants. Why do they need saber teeth? We were all familiar with the prehistoric saber-toothed cat. It was a carnivore that used those teeth to kill other animals. Deer don't kill other animals. Deer eat plants. Why do they need saber teeth? And where do these things come from? Their actual name is Chinese water deer, but a saber-toothed deer? Come on. Has that always been here? Really? I don't think so. I've never seen anything like that. That's just weird. What else have we got? Oh, yeah, this one's great. It's called a Garanuck. Yeah, apparently this is a type of gazelle that has a neck like a giraffe. I guess there's still such a thing as a giraffe. I'm scared to look. But, and apparently these are very plentiful. There's millions and millions of them. They live in West Africa. They're indigenous to West Africa. And these are all over the place. Never seen one of these things in my life. As many nature documentaries as I've watched, I've never seen a Garanuk. Because, well, look at it. I mean, that's... no. No. No, 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 no. No. What else have we got with animals? Oh! I always learned that the largest bat in the world was either some kind of fruit bat or some kind of vampire bat. I can't remember which, but I remember it having a wingspan of about a foot. That's pretty big for a bat. Most bats are like mouse-sized. This thing is called a flying fox, for obvious reasons, and it is the world's largest bat. That's a big bat. I don't know where this thing lives, but I don't know how people sleep at night knowing that thing's flying around. I mean, look at that. Look at the size of that thing. I mean, it's like a dog with wings. I don't even know what they eat. Probably people. I don't know. But I've never seen this before, ever. And I used to collect the little animal cards when I was a kid and stuff, and never anything about a flying fox. And it's been discovered for a while. Flying fox. Okay, whatever. My last animal Mandela Effect example is this thing. What kind of abomination is that? It's called a saiga antelope. S-A-I-G-A. Now, they're endangered, but they've been discovered for a while. Look at that thing! I have never seen... Oh, you know what? I think I have seen one of these before. Okay, but seriously. Look at that thing. But... no. Now, admittedly, just because I've never seen one doesn't mean it hasn't always been here. But these are examples that a lot of people are saying they don't ever remember seeing. So, you know, maybe there is something to these Mandela Effect animals. And there's another huge list of them. I'm not going to go through all of them. But that's just a little example of animals. Okay, some other examples. Pop culture. I'll give you a couple that I found. Silence of the Lambs. Hannibal Lecter never says, "Hello, Clarice." Okay. I don't have any memory of him saying that, but I always assumed that he did, because everybody else said that he said it. But I went back and watched the movie, and he doesn't. But there's thousands and thousands of people that remember him saying that. So that one I don't know. This one, I do know. Now watch this clip, and you tell me if you see anything different about it. Alright, that was Tom Cruise from Risky Business. Lots and lots of people, including me, remember him wearing a white shirt and having black Ray-Bans on during that scene. That's a famous scene. But I can't find a single clip of him dressed like that. He's got this, whatever, pinstripe shirt on and no Ray-Bans. So, that's changed. Another one. Check this out. Everybody's seen this movie. Check it out.
E.T.
ET home phone? I always thought it was ET phone home. Now, he may say that later, but I always remember the first time he ever said it was ET phone home. And it's been reversed. Is it a big change? No. None of these are really big changes. But the fact that there are changes is what I'm talking about. See what I mean? Now, there are a couple others. Let's see. Bible scripture has changed. Yes. Now, before I discuss this, let me go ahead and say that there are many, many translations of the Bible. There's a King James Version, the New King James Version, the New International Version. I mean, there's all kinds of translations. But the original 1611 King James Version, no matter how many times it's been reprinted, should always be exactly the same. I've got 2 or 3 Bibles here that were printed by different publishing companies at different times, and they say exactly the same thing. But it's different than I can remember it. It's different than I remember it. There are words that I don't remember seeing, and I've read the Bible a couple of times. Not only are there words that I don't remember seeing, there are verses that I had memorized as a kid that are no longer the same as they were. I mean, I grew up in church, and scripture memorization was just what you did. But here's some examples. The Lord's Prayer. Okay, it's in the New Testament. It's in Matthew. And I always memorized it, Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Now, it says this. Our Father which art in heaven. And it also says, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. I always remembered it as, forgive us our trespassers as we forgive those who trespass against us. Now, there are 2 versions of the Lord's Prayer in the New Testament. And one of them does say debtors, and one of them does say trespasses. But look here in the very next verse, or in the very next couple of verses, it says this, for if ye forgive their trespasses, well, meaning their sins, so why would it change? Okay, here's another one. Almost everyone knows this one, all right? And this is, just a second, this is John 8:32, okay? And you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Okay, I always remember that the truth shall set you free. Okay? So that's not the way I remember it. All right? Another one. And this is something that I'd never seen because it would have stuck out to me. This is in the book of, where is this? Luke, I believe? Anyway, it says, like it's on your screen, quench the violence of fire, escape from the edge of the sword, turn to flight the armies of the aliens. Aliens? Maybe it's talking about foreigners, but why didn't you just say that? Remember, this was written in 1611. This is Old English. So, why does it say aliens? Here's another one. You see that? In the day, be which shall upon the house, and his stuff in the house. His stuff. Now, that's modern slang. Okay? Within the past 40, 50 years, that has come into the usage that it's in this verse. Talking about someone's possessions, someone's belongings, stuff. Remember, this was translated in 1611. So why does it say stuff? Well, probably one that jumped out at me the most was, the one you're seeing right here. It's in the book of Exodus. Thou shalt set apart unto the Lord all that openeth the matrix, every firstling that cometh out of a beast, yada yada. The matrix? It used to say womb. Alright? And in this context, that is what that word means, but I don't remember ever seeing that word anywhere in the Bible, and it's several places, in place of the word womb. So that's changed. Alright, one more scripture change, and we'll move on. This one most people know. Genesis 1:1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Okay, I remember heavens, plural, because there's more than one heaven. There's what it calls the firmament, the sky. Then there's the stars, and then there's heaven. Okay, so there's three separate ones that it speaks of. And I always remember that being heavens, plural. But it's not anymore. That bothers me. Scripture should not change. Scripture should never change. Scripture should be unchanging. But I don't know. You decide on that. Now there are some remnants. Some remnants from a past universe getting mixed in with this one. And I'll give you some examples. Star Wars. Okay? All kinds of people are saying C-3PO has one silver leg. And as far as I can tell, C-3PO has always had one silver leg, but I don't remember him having one silver leg. I don't. And here is a picture of a remnant, supposedly. Now this object belongs to me. This is in my closet. And as you can see, it's licensed merchandise, not a Chinese knockoff. But this shows C-3PO with both gold legs. Okay. Now some people say, well, it's only in the modern movies that he had a silver leg, or something like that. Or he only had two gold legs in the modern movie. But, okay, the first modern Star Wars movie, recent, was 1999. It was The Phantom Menace. Okay? As you can see from the trademark on this was made in 1995. So it was before all that. So, is this a remnant? Possibly. Here's something else. When I say Ed McMahon, what do you think of? Most people think of Star Search, Johnny Carson. A lot of people think of Publishers Clearinghouse. Ed McMahon showing up at your door, big check, balloons, whatever. Well, when Ed McMahon died, there were people asking Publishers Clearinghouse, well, how are you going to notify women? And Publishers Clearinghouse said this. Okay, what you're seeing there. Same way we always have, because he never worked for us. Now, wait a minute. I distinctly remember Ed McMahon working for Publishers Clearinghouse. Distinctly. I remember the commercials. I remember, everything. And according to Wikipedia, which I'm showing you now, he worked for American Family Publishers, who I've never heard of, which is supposedly a competitor of Publishers Clearinghouse. No, he worked for Publishers Clearinghouse. I know he did. And I can prove it. Watch this video. This video is Johnny Carson, after he retired, appearing on the David Letterman show. Okay? I'm not going to play the whole video, just the first part. Listen to what he says, and pay attention to what he's holding.
I'll tell you why I'm here. I happen to be in town over doing some stuff for the NBC affiliate.
That's right.
And, Ed McMahon, our good friend, could not be here. Yeah. But it seems, David, that you are the $1 million winner.
Oh, my God! I've won $1 million!
See, everybody said, Ed McMahon couldn't be here. He wanted me to bring you this. Now look at what's written on this check. Publishers Clearinghouse. Now why would Johnny Carson, a lifelong friend of Ed McMahon, do that? He's not going to make a mistake like that. He knows where the guy works. They were friends for 40 years. Okay? So why associate Ed McMahon with Publishers Clearinghouse if he's never worked for them? Because he did. And this is a remnant. This is residue from another universe than the one that we're in. Now, okay, there's one more I've got. And a friend of this sent this to me. Remember I talked about the Berenstain Bears? Well, she found this picture. I think someone sent it to her. So you see, it's got both spellings on it. So part of it changed and part of it didn't. I don't know how that happened. Honestly, I don't know how any of it happened, really. But like I said, I'm having to convince myself that I'm not losing my mind. But as you can see, there's both realities combined in this one object here. So there's just some examples. Now, let's get to the why. I honestly don't know. But I have a good idea. I have a good theory. And this guy explains it pretty well. Listen to what he has to say.
At the heart of this big box is a tiny chip about the size of your thumbnail. And on this chip resides all of the wonder and magic that makes this thing go. I'm not going to describe in any mathematical detail how it all works, but let me give you an analogy. In quantum mechanics, there's this concept that a thing can exist in two states which are mutually exclusive at the same time, quote unquote. And I'm using those words because the English language was developed before we had concepts to describe what these things actually are doing. But I'm going to give you a roundabout way of understanding this. Imagine that there really are parallel universes out there, and now imagine you have two that are exactly identical in every respect, all the way out to the horizon as far as we can see, down to the last little atomic detail of every single thing, with only one difference. And that's the value of a little thing called a qubit on this chip, which is a contraction of quantum bit. And that qubit is very much like a bit or a transistor in a conventional computer. It has two distinct physical states, which we call 0 and 1 for bit. In a conventional computer, these are mutually exclusive. That device is either one or the other and never anything else. In a quantum computer, that device can be in this strange situation where these two parallel universes have a nexus, a point in space where they overlap. And when you increase the number of these devices, every time you add one of these qubits, you double the number of these parallel universes that you have access to, until such time when you get to a chip like this, which has about 500 of these bits, you have something like 2 to the 500th power of these guys living in that chip.
All right, so like I said, I'm a nerd. I'm a science geek. Basically what he's saying is akin to Schrodinger's cat. Schrodinger's cat was a theoretical experiment by a man named Schrodinger, a scientist named Schrodinger, that dealt with quantum physics, quantum mechanics, quantum reality. He said that if you place a cat into a box and close the box, and inside the box is a device that had an absolute 50-50 chance of either killing the cat or letting it live, that until you opened the box to see whether the cat was dead or alive, the cat was both dead and alive at the same time. Because the act of observing it made it one way or another. Yeah, it's hard to wrap your head around, I know. But basically, what he's saying about these quantum computers is the normal computers we're using today understand 0 and 1, yes or no, on or off, binary. These quantum computers work in a similar way, except their 0 or 1, yes or no, on or off, is determined by the spin of an electron. Okay? Now, these quantum computers take advantage, like he said, of parallel universes. Because these computers can use the fact that that electron is both on and off at the same time to make a calculation. Now, from what I've read, the only difference in the two parallel universes is the state of that one electron. But how do we know that? We don't. We can't observe an entire universe, an entire parallel universe. We can observe our universe. Okay, we don't observe a tiny part of it. So how do we know that by these machines exploiting the differences in these two alternate realities, that they haven't accidentally combined two alternate realities? Now, we're playing with things we have no control over that we shouldn't be playing with. Our reach is exceeding our grasp here. And that's the best explanation I can come up with any of this. I mean, it's totally blown my mind. And my mind's not easy to blow. But that's the best thing I can find to explain the phenomenon that's happening here. And if you have a different explanation, different reason, by all means, throw it in the comments. You know, or hit me up an email or whatever. But that's really all I've got to say. I mean, I don't. It messes with me. It does. It blows my mind. But anyway, that's it. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm not very good at making videos. That's why it took a little while. And as usual, you be the judge. You know, do your own research. Don't take my word for it. And if you have questions, comments, rude remarks, hit me up on Facebook, facebook.com/freethesheeple, or on Gmail, tinfoilhat712@gmail.com. Thank you for listening. I'll see you next time.